Christian Paulino here, interviewing Dashawn Hendricks, my friend, my Sports Rant co-host, part-time producer at ESPN 97.3, former president of ACCC Radio Club, on-air talent on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN Wednesday afternoons. Dashawn, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Trying to get this done. Let's start it.
All good. First and foremost, your full name.
Dashawn Gregory Hendricks.
And what is the company that you work for?
Well, right now, you just mentioned it. I'm doing some work over at 97.3 ESPN. Which is obviously part of Town Square. Interned over there a year ago. Got the job started as a part-time producer. Now, moving on up, on air. Obviously, I still do some, event stuff over there with, 97.3. But it's been awesome. Just meeting new people. Social media, that's been big. I've got guys that follow me now, that work for NBC Sports Philly and, the main ESPN branch and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of networking once you get into the journalism field. But, it's been awesome, man. I can't ask for, a better thing.
What is the exact title that you hold at ESPN?
Well, right now I'm still the part-time producer because Josh is still full-time, so I'm still the part-time guy. Obviously with the caveat that, I'm on air with Wednesdays with Mike, kind of, longing my leash, so to speak, see what else I can do. But, right now my official title is still, the part-time guy.
All right. What is the exact job you hold in the industry?
Again, producing, mostly, producing the shows. I was the main producer for Josh's show on Sports Bash Saturday. Whenever we can get together, when time allows it. Again, on-air talent now, because I am the co-host with Gil every Wednesday for the Sports Bash show. And then behind the scenes, I still do things, writing articles here and there, really just being a sponge and learning wherever I can and doing wherever I can to help better us as a team over at 97.3.
Why is the job of producer so important to a radio show?
Oh, it's everything. Without the producer, you don't have basically the heartbeat of the radio. The producer makes sure that the guests are aligned, make sure that, every time slot is met. If you're opening up at 2 o'clock and the segment is supposed to go to 2:30 or 2:20, you take your break and stuff like that. If, the host, he's into the conversation, he's really getting into it with the guests, or he's taking calls or stuff like that. That's the producer's job to make sure that everything goes according to plan. There's been times where I'm producing Josh's show, and we have, guys calling or, want to get into the conversation. That's my job to put them on hold or, get them in the conversation. And, you got to make sure that everything stays clean on the air. There's a lot of people that get a lot of passionate when it comes to sports. So, if something goes awry, it's my job to make sure that that call gets dropped before any, subtle words or anything unacceptable on air, gets said. So they kind of got to be on your heels and toes, so to speak. And you got to just be watching. There's a lot of times where we get breaking news. And I have to be the one to let, the host know that, hey, the Eagles just signed, so-and-so, or someone just got injured or whatever. You want to make sure that the show stays current. And, there's a lot of people that think that, radio shows are all scripted. It really isn't. Me and you do a radio show that we barely ever script anything. We just go off of feel, and we go off of, what we're feeling that day or what's going on, and, whatever kind of gets interjected into that, we go off.
Why did you join this industry?
Well, there was a time and point where I started to want to really get involved in media. I was watching the game less as a fan and more as an analyst, so to speak. I was wondering why the Eagles had guys like, Kevin Cobb starting at quarterback when it was obvious that Kevin Cobb wasn't going to be an NFL quarterback. He couldn't function in the pocket. He was brittle. He took too many hits. He would get injured a lot. Or, they would anoint Nick Foles, a quarterback that could be a guy for the future when it was obviously his arm wasn't strong enough or he didn't just have the it factor. So, when those things started to come into my mind, I started to say, maybe I should venture into this avenue and start really being interested in this field. So, I did my homework and, I came here, wanted to be involved in Radio Club, got involved, started networking, met guys like Pete Thompson, who used to work for NBC 40, Mike Gill, obviously, that works at 97.3, who got me to intern over there at 97.3. Guys like Rich Quinones, Jonathan Marshall, all these different type of people that, have that experience and just took the time, to allow a kid from Atlantic City like myself who didn't really have any, experience in this field to, teach me things and allow me to have that experience to the point now where I feel like I'm kind of getting my feet wet and I'm having fun. I mean, the biggest thing with this whole thing is it's fun. And people don't want to hear that when it comes to work, but it's fun. It's fun to do this. And, one day I hope to be at the very top of my game.
Why do you, if you feel this way, why do you feel that radio may be a more important media than others?
Well, radio is kind of a dying feature in a lot of people's minds because, you got social media and stuff like that. But radio is kind of, what we do over at 97.3, we have the 97.3 ESPN app where you can download on your phone and you can, listen to it, through your phone, which it's still a form of radio because you're still listening to us through a form of radio. Me and you do our thing over here at 107.9 WRML, where we really promote the WRMLradio.org app. Where you kind of can listen to us without actually having to be in a car and listen on your radio. I doubt that a lot of people, you still got your people with their 5 o'clock drives where, you're driving home and you got the radio on, but a lot of people listen to us, through those technology avenues. And on Twitter, obviously, that's why social media is so big in this era where you promote. If you're a radio show and you don't have a social media account, well, you're kind of doing a disservice to your fan base because our biggest fan base started with Twitter, with people being able to kind of join the conversation and just be a part of it. So, again, there are ways to kind of expand radio to where it's not a dying feature, so to speak. But I'd be lying if I said that, those things weren't needed to keep it afloat.
And what, in your opinion, is one of the most special things about the radio industry?
Being able to express yourself and know that you have a pulse of a fan base in your hand. I love going on air and doing an opening monologue and just putting what I feel out there on the line so people can kind of just, react to it, whether it be positive or negative. I love feedback. I don't care if you agree with me. I don't care if you don't agree with me. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you love me. The fact that we can kind of have that type of emotional feel through radio, through sports, is what drives me to keep doing this. There's nothing like, saying, for instance, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, and to have 50 people say that they love it and they agree with you, and have another 50 say that you're crazy and you're stupid. Those type of things drive you to say, well, okay, let's kind of, progress the conversation, rather than you just say, this is this and this and that, and you have nobody to kind of back it or nobody to kind of disagree with it. That kind of takes away from what you want in this industry.
If you had special powers and you could change one thing about the radio industry, what's one thing you would change?
That's a tough question. One thing I would change... Wow. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Honestly, I don't think I would change anything. And I know it's cliche-ish, but I don't think I would change anything. I mean, I used to say I hated the breaks because I would get so much into conversations and there were breaks and they would just kill the mojo. But the breaks kind of set the tone. I mean, that's kind of when I got better with the kind of, cliffhanger things where, you say things, before the break to get people to keep listening to the show. So you can't really take those out because that takes away from that feature. I love everything about it. I mean, the promos, the ads, all that stuff. I just love this, man. I mean, I know it's cliche-ish. I know it's boring, but I really love this. I love waking up and going into the studio and knowing that I'm going to create, entertainment, because that's what this really is. It's entertainment.
What media source do you believe you consume the most on a regular basis? And how does it affect you?
Media source as far as radio or...
Film, TV, books, newspapers, magazines.
Probably radio. Probably radio. I listen to more sports radio since I started doing this than I ever had in my life. It opened up a new door of interest. I used to watch NFL Live... back when before it was Philly Sports Talk, it was Daily News Live. I used to watch. Those were my daily things. I used to consume that daily. That was my TV. Now, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter and I'm on radio. Listening. Dan Le Batard, Us. I love Rich Quinones' show. He does it 12 to 2. Middays with Q. The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. Even when I'm not on, even when I'm not producing, I want to hear these guys because they work so hard and they do what they need to do, to make their show at the top of their game. I mean, it's so much more entertainment through radio than I ever thought it would be. I was one of those guys to say, well, how am I going to listen to it when I can watch it? Because we live in such a visual world where it's like I have to see it to believe it. And I just, if you don't listen to radio, if you're not a sports radio fan, or you consume your sports through just watching stuff and things of that nature, try listening to it, because I mean it's really going to open up your eyes, or better yet, open up your ears to some things that you can kind of relate to.
When did you know that this is a career path that you could really do, and you were like, yeah, I'm good at this, I can do this?
When I did the show with Mike, and Mike, as everyone knows, is a strong personality. You can kind of get intimidated with him on the air because the way he carries himself, how strong his opinions are, it's kind of tough to kind of combat him. When I did my first show with him, when I invited him to my show, and I held my own, and I was the clear-cut host, and that was maybe my 5th ever show I was doing as a host. And I got a lot of positive feedback. And the fact that he invited me after that show to come intern and really get into the business, that's when I knew that, okay, this is something that obviously positively is going to be something that I can, progress in.
Now, you're a very motivated person. So where do you get that motivation from?
There's so many things. My biggest thing is I love when people tell me that I can't do something. I love when people tell me that, there's only been, these amount of odds. I mean, that's kind of got me into coaching now. I coach my son in football and I coach him in basketball. And, when he tells me he can't do something, I mean, he's 6. And I tell him that I don't never want to hear the word can't. Can't is something people say because they're too lazy to do something. I believe anybody can do anything they want in this world, anything. And I do mean anything. You just got to work hard at it. You got to put in the work. You got to be a person that says, no matter what, I'm going to honestly give my all to be this. You got to set goals. And, I told myself at the beginning of this, I wanted to reach the very top. I wanted to do this. I don't care if I don't have the experience. I don't care if I don't have the paper saying that I'm qualified. I don't care about any of that. I know that when I put my mind to this, I'm one of the best damn people on this mic, and can't nobody touch me. And with that type of confidence came that type of effort. I don't just go on air and say I'm great because I'm me. No, I put in the work. So at the end of the day, I get the desired result.
What has been your fondest memory of the radio industry?
My fondest memory, Sports Rant Roast with you. I mean, it was a night. It was a slow period in sports. It was the summertime, and the interaction that we got with that. I mean, the fact that me and you were able to laugh at the things that we did wrong, and really truly make it entertainment was amazing. I mean, to that day, that's my best idea that I've ever had in radio, was the Sports Rant Roast thing. We carried a whole summer period with that being our main segment. And, I mean, it really attributes to your hard work because you came in and you helped with that. It started out with a failed experiment. If you remember, we started the Sports Rant Trial, and that was terrible. But it turned into the Sports Rant Roast. And, to me, that is my biggest, greatest thing that I've done so far in radio as far as just an imaginative standpoint.
Lastly, what is some advice you could give to someone who's trying to break into the exact same field that you're in, trying to get into the radio industry?
Be humble, because there's a lot of people that may not be as talented as you or may not be as witty as you, and obviously by witty I mean knowledge, but everyone in this industry has that type of, okay, when I get on this mic, I'm me. And everybody has a character, and I would say just don't worry too much about, really searching of what kind of character you want to be, because it'll just come. Like, that was the problem with you. I felt like at the beginning, like, you didn't know who your character was. You didn't want to, you wanted to try to be like my character, but that's not your character. Your character is you're the funny, happy-go-lucky fan, and that's, when that brings out of you, you flourish in that role. So allow yourself to find your character and just enjoy it. It's fun. It's fun. It's not as hard as people make it sound to be. It's work, but it's fun. And I always say, if you're having fun at work, then the sky's the limit.
Thank you, Dashawn. It's been a pleasure.
My fault, man. I mean, my pleasure, man. And again, remember, stop being late on the show.